Stand by, don't start yet.
Good morning. How are y'all doing this morning? Good to hear. Let's get another round of applause for the panel that just spoke. My name is Trevor Santos, and I serve as the Manager of Government Relations, State Affairs for the National Shooting Sports Foundation. As a trade association for America's firearms, ammunition, and hunting industry, we represent more than 12,000 manufacturers, retailers, distributors, shooting ranges, and sportsmen's organizations. Our mission is to promote, protect, and preserve hunting in the shooting sports. Our particular focus is on the lawful commerce of firearms, without which citizens are not able to exercise their Second Amendment rights. Now, I was asked to come here today to give a brief update on legislative affairs at the state level. I know we've already heard from a number of folks discussing state issues, but I'd like to focus on the issues of extreme importance to the firearms industry. The firearms industry and Second Amendment advocates have seen many achievements since January, even with the countless number of anti-gun politicians willing to strip us of our rights, media misinformation and blatant gun control advocacy, and of course, anti-gun billionaire Michael Bloomberg trying to do, well, whatever he can to infringe on our fundamental and constitutional freedoms. But you know what? It's because of people like you that we're able to keep making strides in this never-ending fight. It's the phone calls you make and the emails you send to your elected officials. It's the time you take to testify in a committee hearing. It's because you vote for those who are unwilling to compromise what has made America great. Obviously, there are many issues of importance to the firearms industry, but today I'll discuss just a few where we saw gains in 2015. From repealing the ballistics imaging law in Maryland, to defeating bans on the use of traditional ammunition for hunting, to the increased focus on suppressor legalization, and lastly, a new initiative known as the Firearms Industry Non-Discrimination Act. Topping the list was the battle to overturn Maryland's failed ballistics imaging law. The win for NSSF repealed the law that required firearms manufacturers and retailers to submit bullet casings for all handguns sold in the state. This victory for industry brings an end to a decade-and-a-half-long experiment in crime lab technology that never worked, but of course it was embraced by gun control advocates. Even in its early stages, Maryland's own state police recommended repealing the law, stating that guns are not used in crimes, at least the guns that they were finding at crimes were not the ones that were entered into the ballistics imaging database. This victory in Maryland laid to rest the final of only 2 states clinging to this burdensome form of gun control. This was after NSSF in 2012 repealed the New York State requirement through budget language. In 2013, California became the first state to legislatively ban the use of traditional or lead ammunition for hunting with the passage and enactment of AB 711. The California Department of Fish and Game earlier this year finalized the lead ban, which will prohibit the use of lead ammunition for all hunting in July of 2019. NSSF, along with the help of other pro-gun and pro-hunting organizations, along with grassroots efforts like you all here today, was able to defeat similar legislative efforts in Oregon, Vermont, and Rhode Island in 2015. Now, you may say to yourself, well, I'm not a hunter, so this won't affect me. Well, you better think again. While the use of lead ammunition was first banned for hunting, I can guarantee you that target shooting is next. In fact, we're already seeing efforts in Washington State to prohibit the use of lead ammunition at indoor gun ranges. Now, I'll stay with the topic of hunting here for a minute because as NSSF's mission includes hunting. For many, the use of firearms started with being in the field hunting, whether it was deer, rabbits, ducks. You know, educating someone at an early age on the safe and beneficial use of firearms is only going to help that person and others around them as they get older. For many years, NSSF has pushed the Families of Field program, which seeks to remove unnecessary legal barriers to hunting, and it creates opportunities for adults to mentor those wishing to try hunting by creating an apprentice hunting license. Since the program's inception in 2004, more than 1.5 million apprentice hunting licenses have been sold. That's more than 1.5 million new hunters. Those are people who likely wouldn't have been able to get in the field due to the burdensome hunter education training that would take up a few days only for someone just to try hunting. So in 2015, Iowa, Colorado, Montana, and New Jersey became the 36th, 37th, 38th, and 39th states to enact the Families of Field legislation. And in addition to our Families of Field successes in 2015, North Carolina joined the growing list of states allowing for Sunday hunting. And for those who typically don't hunt in the Northeast, you were probably just as confused as I was to hear that you couldn't hunt on Sundays in states like Maryland and Pennsylvania and even North Carolina. So by a show of hands, how many people here own suppressors? So we've got a good number in the audience. And did you know that there are nearly 800,000 suppressors in circulation? And because of that, NSSF has taken a greater role in supporting the efforts to legalize the ownership and use of suppressors for recreational shooting, self-defense, and hunting. As more target shooters and hunters realize the many benefits suppressors provide, their popularity across the United States will continue to increase. And I'm sure next year we're going to see even more hands raised, as far as owners for suppressors go. In 2015, 3 states legalized the use of suppressors for all lawful hunting, bringing the total to 37 states that allow hunters to use suppressors. Additionally, 2 states, Minnesota and Vermont, legalized the ownership and use of suppressors, now making it legal to own and use suppressors in 41 states. Now, I know those remaining 9 states are going to be tough, but we're going to continue working to legalize the use of suppressors. Not only are we going to continue working to legalize suppressors, but also reducing the paperwork and those resulting delays. Ultimately, the goal of ours is to have suppressors removed totally from the NFA and simply regulated like other firearms. Once again, it's a tool. It provides a safety benefit to shooters and hunters. It allows youth shooters to shoot more accurately. So why not allow more people to use them? And while not a legislative success on the suppressor front, we work closely with other stakeholders such as the NRA and the American Suppressor Association to have UPS reverse its no suppressor shipping policy. And all we had to do was educate UPS executives on suppressors, their benefits, and the laws throughout the country. But UPS wasn't the only company with a policy impacting our industry. In fact, it's probably more common for companies to have policies regulating the firearms industry than not. For example, Facebook, Twitter, Google, they all have policies prohibiting the advertising of firearms and ammunition products. Discrimination against the firearms and ammunition industry has become increasingly common due to the anti-gun rhetoric commonly employed by this administration, the media, anti-gun politicians, and gun control advocates. Fueled by the hard-won fight with the FDIC over Operation Choke Point, NSSF began promotion of the Firearms Industry Non-Discrimination Act, or the FIND Act. The FIND Act, promoted on the state level, states that it shall be an unlawful discriminatory practice for any person to refuse to provide any goods or services of any kind solely because a business or individual is engaged in the lawful commerce of firearms or ammunition products. Kansas was the first state in the country to introduce the FIND Act in 2015, followed by Alabama. NSSF will continue to work towards the passage of the FIND Act in these states in 2016, along with a list of other targeted states. And if you think your state might be a good candidate, please let us know, and we would definitely look forward to working on that issue in your state. Now, as I close here, I want to say thank you. Thank you to those who spoke earlier and to those who will speak later today and tomorrow. Thank you for your leadership in your states. But more importantly, I just want to say thank you to everyone in the audience here today. It's because of you and enthusiastic grassroots that our rights and our freedoms have not been stripped away from us. But honestly, I think things are only going to get tougher. As we move forward to the election in 2016, you must continue to do your homework on the candidates and see where they stand. I know you've heard this before, but this election will likely be the most important election of our lifetime. Will our country elect pro-gun state legislators and congressional members? I guess even a bigger question is, will we elect a pro-gun president? You know, we really need to see positive change in our country because over the past few years, we've had a tough ride. But we can only do that by getting like-minded individuals to the polls next November. So just a few questions for you. Are you willing to do what it takes? Are you willing to fight for freedom? Thank you for having me here today. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep up the good fight, fighting for those rights that are guaranteed by our Constitution. God bless.